week. Now this week we'll be learning how to add a beautiful custom vignette to your photograph, okay? This is a very, very natural way to add a vignette to your photograph. You're gonna love it. Let's go ahead and just jump in here. Now, keep in mind, you can follow along with versions of Photoshop Elements 11 and 12, as well as CS versions 2 through 6 and Creative Cloud, okay? Now to complete this effect, as you can see, we're using the same photograph as we had last week when we learned how to add a beautiful center and focal light to the photograph. So we've already gotten that applied. Now we're going to be working with the same tool, which is the gradient tool. So I'm going to click on my little circle icon down here and select gradient. Okay, notice how the color that appears on our photograph is whatever we had set as our foreground color. Now we can change this later on, and in fact we will be. So hang in there with me. First we're going to look at style. Okay, right next to it, let's click on our little drop down bar and select radial. Okay, notice how all of our light is being gathered in towards the center of our photograph. Our next step is to click reverse down here at the bottom. We want that to go on the outside of our photograph for our vignette. Next, before I deal with any of the angles, I like to make sure that I've got the color right for this photograph. With vignettes, I usually deal with blacks and browns. You can also select a lot of other various deep, dark tones for your photograph, for the vignette. So for this particular photograph, I'm going to just select plain old black. And you want to deal with both your left and right color stops. Now I double clicked on the left and select black. Hit OK. Now I'm going to click on my right color stop. I'm going to double click and I'm going to select black again. Now also, again, keep in mind you can change your colors very easily by moving your color dial here. Right here is probably a good brownish tone, but I could select, again, for this photograph, we'll just be dealing with black. Okay. Now you've also got your top left and right opacity dials. Okay. I'm going to select my right one and bring it in towards the center. Notice what happens, how the color we had in here towards the middle is now being brought towards the outside of the photograph. I always like to bring this dial in pretty close to the middle, not completely in the middle, but as close as I can get it there. Okay, so my left opacity stop, notice what happens when I bring that in towards the right. Okay, it's bringing my color closer towards my subject, which it's already pretty close. So I want to keep that all the way there at the left-hand side. I'm going to press OK. Now the vignette here is very, very strong. We're going to fix that. And keep in mind, there's a few ways you can do that. One is with the angle. Notice what happens when I change the angle here. I'm going to bring that to a 45-degree angle. And notice how I've got this really nice outer vignette. It's still pretty strong. So again, you can play around with the angle and see which one suits your particular photograph the best. Once you find an angle that you like, you can change the scale as well. By scaling down, obviously the color is going to seep in closer towards your subject. And if I go larger, the vignette will remain on the very outskirts of the photo, and sometimes just the four corners. Okay, I like mine at about 120% for this particular photograph. Okay, so we're going to leave that there and press OK. Now there's a few things that we can do now to finish off with the vignette. The first is change the opacity. So I'm going to click opacity. And I like to bring my opacity down to 0 and work my way up and find where I feel it's affecting my photograph the best. Okay, so I can really see my vignette appearing here. Let's see, I'm going to keep that right at about 60%. I really like that. You can see the before and the after. I do notice, I noticed in the after how it's affecting his face. Notice before and after, it's kind of covering up his face and darkening it a bit. So I want to remove the vignette effect from his face. To do that, I'm going to select the built-in layer mask here. I also have my paintbrush selected. I'm going to change the opacity of my brush to 100%. And remember, when dealing with layer masks, black conceals and white reveals. My layer mask is white, so the entire effect is revealed. I want to conceal it on his face. So black is my foreground color already. And I'm just going to paint over his face, and notice how it's lightening up to the original color. So we're removing that vignette effect from his face, because we don't want that covering up your subject's face. Okay, so there's our before and after. Beautiful. I love the effect that I'm getting there. Now you can also play with your blending modes. Notice how it's at normal. It looks really, really great. You can also select a few other of the blending modes and just really play with it and find out which ones you like best. I usually work with normal or overlay, sometimes soft light if I don't want it to be quite so strong. Notice what happens when I select overlay. So it's not really affecting the whites of my photo anymore. It's a little bit more crisp. So there's our before and after. Still really beautiful effect. I prefer normal for this particular photo. Again, you can also select soft light. Notice the difference between that and overlay. Overlay is just a little bit stronger. Okay. I actually think I'm going to leave it on overlay here and just bring the opacity down a little bit. See, you'll notice all kinds of things when you go in and play with the blending modes in your photograph. So I'm really liking the before and after effect I'm getting here. To finish it off, I'm just going to play Sunbathe, which is a new action from my Clean and Airy set from the Discovery collection coming out here really soon. So check back for that. I'm going to press play. And that's bringing quite a bit of light into my photograph. So again, I'm going to take the opacity down to 0 and just work my way up here. All right, I really love the airy effect I'm getting. And there we have it. Really, really simple how to add a beautiful custom vignette to your photographs. My name's Amanda with Amanda's Action.